Hey guys, Paperbird here. So I heard the news the other day.
John Ashbery died yesterday in Hudson, New York. He won the Pulitzer Prize and the National Book Award, among many other
I always thought John Ashbery was immortal, so it's shocking to see a supernova explode like that. Even though it's a white dwarf, it still forms part of this constellation of artists that I've always worshipped for decades. And, I think Ashbery, I put him out on a distant arm in that system because I kind of got used to the warmth of his light over time and the frequency that he was always on. Now I come to realize that maybe Ashbery has always been in the center, like I've been inside, he's always been around. For me, Ashbery's early work holds the most energy, particularly what happened between the first and second collections. Helen Vendler had talked about the breaking of style, very interestingly, about the writer Gerard Manley Hopkins. I think Ashbery had broken his style very early on. Protean sea of Auden and Stevens and Williams, and here you see Ashbery already being very adept at form. Then he dropped this atomic bomb on American poetry, the Tennis Court Oath, this book being a text worshipped by later movements. Something happened over in France, and he already was using the French language as a way to encode his secret experiences by necessity. There he turned the writer Harry Matthews onto Raymond Roussel. Of course, Ashbery is famously known for being part of the New York School. School being an interesting label here because these artists, aside from maybe having a similar demeanor and the fact that they all slept together, just really varied in their approach to art. Brodkey being a younger member of that Harvard group. In this collection, he's got this awesome remembrance of his time with Frank O'Hara and the others.
Everyone knew that New York was good for fucking your way into a career.
Brodkey would go on to write some of the most awesome American fiction, and unfortunately it's not really talked about that much. Like an octopus, each tentacle doing its own thing. In that case, it's good to have one tentacle be so strong that it can lift the whole animal up out of obscurity and into the surface. Ashbery was more like the tentacle that had prolapsed itself and would rub against you in a way that it was like more cerebral pleasure than anything else. I prefer shits that are so compact with decades of mentation that it just cuts you up as it's coming out. So many different paradigms of language that he could easily move between and function as a kind of connective tissue. Internal, external, declaiming, personal, baffling, confounding. Burroughs-like shock cuts over time getting smoothed out into a kind of pleasant manner that supposedly generated a whole bunch of imitators, according to some of the critics. Ashbery is a huge fan of Hebdomeros by de Chirico. This book here, the most interesting thing about it is, like, if you blur your eyes a little bit, you'll see this river go down the page in the white space. Orpheus and I went to Malvern Books for the first time, and we looked at each other in there, and we're like, what the fuck? Flipped my shit when I saw this book, and flipping through it, I got legitimately scared. And I put it back on the shelf and didn't buy it, and then I bought it the next day from Amazon. He writes about this idea of giving these objectively offered objects to people sort of as gift my son had given me the other day, this right here being a symbol of his superior intelligence. And this I think 3 poems is my favorite of his work. It's these long prose poem sequences as well as flowchart. Later on, he was just picking things up out of the air.